Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Coffee Time with Coach Jah. I am your host, CoachJahSmalls in the building. Y'all know how we do every morning, Monday through Friday, 10 to 11 a.m. right here. I'm usually in this spot. I used to be in my spot over there, but got a lot of things going on. So now holds 2 cups of Joe in 1 cup. No. It doesn't hold 2 cups of Joe. So if you're on, you just come on live. I'm on IG, and they were asking, is this a 2 cupper? And I didn't know what a 2 cupper was until she explained it to me. And what I was saying was, I'm so proud of this cup because I designed it myself. It's my logo. I did logo and everything, and it's a really, really, really dope situation. And I'm really proud of my cup. And so I drink from it every morning. I ask people to come on and have their cup of coffee and enjoy with me. And yeah, but today y'all are in for an amazing treat. I have a really super dope guest for y'all this morning. I can't even begin to tell you how amazing this brother is, man, and just how deep he is. But y'all gonna find out in about 2 minutes because I'm going to bring him on. But thank y'all for coming through. Thank y'all. Yes, Ramadan, I love my cup. Like I was saying, I think when you actually create your own thing, it makes it that much better. It's kind of like when you write a poem and you know you wrote it, and then everybody's like, "Yo, I love that shit." It's kind of like that. And I know I wrote it, so I know it's mine. I know I created the cup, so I know it's mine. But anyway, I'm not going to take up more time talking about my shenanigans. Let me introduce y'all to the guest of honor, Mr. Slangston Hughes. What up, my brother?
Peace. What's going on, Coach?
It's good, fam. Everything is good, fam. Everything's good. It's good to see you, man. I didn't wake you up too early, did I?
I mean, I'm I am the anti-morning person. So during these times when it's like I seen a meme that spoke to my spirit. It was like a dude was like getting out of bed, like completely disheveled, and then like the caption was Zoom meeting in 5 minutes. Yeah, that's been me on many mornings. It's like, oh, what? Zoom meeting in 5 minutes? Okay, don't turn the camera on. Hello, like act like you've been up.
Bro, I can seriously totally relate because I'll be the same way. And the fun thing is, it don't even have to be the morning. It could be the evening times. And I'll be
Right,
like,
right.
oh,
It's more it's your body's morning time.
that part. So listen, introduce yourself to the people. Tell them who you are. Tell them where you're from. Tell them what you do, all that good stuff. Let them know who you are.
Slangston Hughes. Um, I am currently residing in Silver Spring, Maryland. Um, by way of Baltimore, by way of Pittsburgh, by way of um, Marvlock Prime, and I would say I am the poet laureate of Shambhala, which is one step below the king of Shambhala, but I didn't want that title anymore because it comes with too much drama. Um, I'm not going to say what Shambhala is. Maybe we can talk about that. It's one of those crazy Slangston subjects.
Gotcha.
Um, but in my off time from being the poet laureate of Shambhala, I'll say I make poetry donuts for Do More Baltimore as the artistic coordinator for that organization. Um, Learn more about that at domorebaltimore.org.
I did not know you was poet. I'm not surprised, but I did not know you was a poet laureate. So I met you 2016, Greensboro, at Southern Fried. And bro, you meet people and you hear about people, but you don't know the depths of people until you actually see them do what it is that they do. So let me ask you, like, what is your, like, when you come, do you just come up with an idea and you just go at it, or you come up with an idea and you research it? Like, how does your whole process work?
Um, I would say that my process has changed a lot over the years. Um, it used to be like an idea or concept would come and then I just attack it and just start writing. Um, Over time, that process has really changed, refined a lot, like to where now my process is really research heavy, and that part's not necessarily new. Um, Whenever I would write a poem that had a lot of detail to it, it was dealing with like a really intricate subject or history or current events, I'll always do a lot of research. But now that kind of happens regardless of what the poem is about, and I research exactly what I want to say and how I want to say it, and it's kind of like an energy collecting process that happens even before the poem is written, and that process can take anywhere from like couple days, a couple hours to a couple years. Like right now, I have 10 concepts like building like inside of the ethosphere, and haven't even like started writing any of them out yet.
Wow. I always wonder, you know, because everybody has a different writing technique, right? And I always wonder, you know, I just want to be in the mind of a poet that I look up to, or a poet whose work that I really love, just to be in their mind for like 5 minutes. And I probably couldn't stand more than 60 seconds, but just to be able to be in that minute, that moment, because like, so I've heard your work. I've heard you feature with us on IG. I've heard it there. And man, you know, some people you go and you search on YouTube trying to find their videos. It's like, I want to see some more of this work, right? And then your squad, when Slamageddon comes, nobody wants to go up against Slamageddon. They can say what they want to say. Nobody wants that heat. You know what I'm saying? In fact, a lot of how I look at group pieces now have a lot to do with what I've seen. And I'm talking 2016 was the first time I saw y'all. So I look forward. I hate when we have a match and we're in the match and y'all in the match someplace else, because I can't coach and watch. It just doesn't work. But I hate that because I never get to see the magic. But man, it is, and the two young. When I saw it was a young lady, and there's a young guy that was there. I can't think of what their names was. I think it was 2016, and man, I was floored.
Grim, probably.
I was floored. Because I, you know, like I said, it was my first time seeing y'all. But I've heard when I got to Southern Fried and I met people for the first time. Blackberry was introduced me to everybody, and then I had met who I was walking with Tavis, and I met Shadow for the first time, and somebody else I met, and then they was talking about bouts, and they was talking about the bout that y'all were in, and I was like, "Yo, who the hell is this Slamageddon squad? I got to see the squad."
Man, that was so. That was like 2016 was really cool in that way because people didn't really know about Baltimore. Like they knew about me. And in Southern Fried, there was a lot of people I had met there in 2012. When I went with the Philly team.
Okay.
But you know, people knew I was from Baltimore or had found that out between then and 2016. And so I wasn't even there with my team the first night because my sister was graduating from high school. And so I caught a flight straight from Pittsburgh to North Carolina, and was 2016, right? Yeah, North Carolina. And so I got there the next day at the Slam Masters meeting. And so I seen people's reaction to having seen them just come out of nowhere the night before that. And I remember I got to the meeting and I seen Giddy, and Giddy was like, "Yo, Slankson, yo, what's good?" She's like, "Yo, your team though, congrats on your team, like winning last night. Like they're fine." I was like, "Yo, I know, right? They didn't even need me." And so that was really cool because after 2016, you know, and we won nationals and stuff, we never really got to sneak up on people again. Like even when we went to nationals that year, in the booklet with the lineup, I purposely didn't put Baltimore next to Slamageddon. I just put Slamageddon so people wouldn't know who that was. And then so we're having bouts with like Atlanta and Artemuck, and they're looking like Slamageddon, who's that? And then after the first round, they're like, "Oh, okay." And then after that, I was like, okay, now when you say to the host, like say Slamageddon and Baltimore, so now people know now that the sneak attack is over. Like, yeah, like that only lasted for like that time period where people were just like, "Ooh, like what that poem? Where did that come from?" I remember it was like mid poem, our first bout. at in Atlanta at Nationals that year, and we were going up against Teresa Davis and her squad from Decatur, and it was like the the middle of the poem. It was Lady Breon and my daughter Fire Angela was on stage doing a group piece about black hair, and like mid poem, I could audibly hear Teresa Davis respond like, "Oh shit." Like we didn't know about this.
Let me ask you, what is it that you love about slam? I'm not gonna worry about the hate part of slam because there's a lot of shit I hate about slam. What is it you love about slam?
So for me, slam has always been a tool that you can use for what you apply it to. Like it's never really been the end all be all. Like this evil thing or this thing I die and live by. Like the tool, and I've always seen it as weightlifting for your words. It's a way in a process to strengthen your words and to get instant feedback on things you write within in a way that is not going to necessarily be a sugar coated reaction or in a bubble reaction as you might have like at an open mic. Because of the competitive nature of it, it's like instantly weightlifting for your words with certain degrees of it's not a perfect science at all, but it can be used as weightlifting for your words and to strengthen your words in that space so that then you can take it to other spaces where it's needed, where it's really needed at. And it can really have its optimal impact. And then, in this now long going age of viral videos, if they can get out on a bigger platform and have more impact through the medium of slam because of the video platforms associated with it, that's a good thing. It's like with any tool, you can hit somebody in the head with a hammer, or you can build a house with a hammer. Like, it's the person wielding the tool and how you use it. The hammer is not inherently flawed or problematic. It's the person swinging it and what they hit it.
That was probably one of the best ways I've heard somebody break down what slam is. I've learned. I will admit that my writing had changed once I entered the world of slam. And one thing that I pride myself in, which same thing with you, not putting us on the same level, but just saying that nobody sounds like Slangston. I've not heard a poet that I say, oh, he sounds like him. And I keep my writing to me. My writing belongs to me. So I make sure, I stay, it's my voice all the time, even when I change it. I don't like when poets sound the same. And I know you've heard poets and be like, yeah, I know who he's been studying under, right? And it's not the worst thing, right? It's not the worst thing, but I enjoy you being original. I want to know who you are. I don't want to know who taught you. We can talk about that later after I see how good your magic is. You know what I mean? But that's one thing I love. I've not heard a poet use some of the heavy. You said weightlifting of words. Some of the metaphors I've heard from you, bro. I mean, when you did the live with us on IG, I cracked my phone. Thank God it was just the phone that I use to type messages in, or when I'm doing three things at a time, and I use one just to go into my Google Doc.
Right.
Bro,
green room phone.
Yeah, man, you said something, and my brother lost it on the camera. I flung my phone across the room. I was like, yo, I think there's a magic in that. And I like when I speak to poets or I'm listening to poets who actually not just write, but they write with the intent for you to either learn something or at least look at something differently. And
I really appreciate that. It's so funny to talk about the poets sounding the same thing and thinking how that kind of relates to slam. And like 2010, I wrote this poem addressing that. This poem that became kind of infamous called Yakub, based off of the ancient story of the big-headed scientist Yakub, who would say grafted various humans with the aggressive traits and less melanin and created white people. The way the mythos goes, if you will. I won't get too deep into that, but I named it that because it's like, you know, I seen poets crafting other poets, and like it was like a facsimile. And so I did this whole poem where like I was mimicking these styles for the first half of the poem. And it's like some people think that like, oh, this is the real poem, and I keep switching from like fake erotica, like whack revolutionary, and really emotional slam sounding cadence, and then in the middle of the poem, I'm like, yo, have you heard any of these styles before? Like, and I just go in like, you may have seen some of these Yaku copycat, and I just like, and I'm like clearly referencing certain people's styles, and then I even mentioned some names at one point in the poem. But like it was real obvious, and so like people who knew that like, okay, he's coming for me. Like the poem, like even though it felt like an attack to some people, the best thing about it is that other than it won me a lot of slams, that really great conversations came out of it, because people were coming to me like, so basically you just coming at us, right? And I was like, yeah, but we could talk about that, and like we would have really productive conversations about the art form, based off of me being like, you know, I'm just gonna call this out right now in a very straightforward battle rap kind of way.
You know what? So let me ask you, the first time you did that poem, was it ever in the first round and you was like first or second up?
I feel like that probably happened a few times before. But I know the very first time I did it, I definitely wasn't in a slam, because I know I practiced it. I think the first time I did it technically was a slam, but it was like a youth slam, like qualifier slam that I was hosting and doing like calibration time. And then I was like, let me do this poem, and I practiced that for the first time. And I remember people was like, yo, for the first half of that poem, I was starting to think like, he's lost his mind. Like it ain't reflected. But yeah, like early in slams, like it could definitely like come out the gate and like disarm everybody's style up front, especially at that time period where there was a lot of real similar sounding styles.
Matter of fact, 2016 at Southern Fried. Oh my gosh, what's the she was with the squad from Louisiana. They won. I think they won 2016. Didn't they win 2016?
Yep. They did.
You remember she did a poem addressing poets?
That was the second year in a row they won. Slam New Orleans Snow.
Yeah, Snow. Yeah, because she did a poem not quite like that, but just basically talking about how poets use certain things to win a slam. And she came on a final stage with that, bro. I was like, holy shit. And I hadn't heard them before. Like this is my first time going to Southern Fried 2016. So what you might not know, here's a story. Some people know this story. I was like, nah, I don't want to do anything, had anything to do with slam. And Blackberry was like, well, why? Why don't you? And I was like, I just don't feel like I can write a poem about the guy whose car broke down and he had to walk 16 blocks and all this funny shit is happening. And I'm supposed to give it a score versus someone who's talking about watching their mother die from some sort of illness that she had for a long time. I'm like, I just can't do it. And she said, that's so cute. Meet me at Starbucks. And then we had a conversation, and then she took me on her wing, and that's how I end up coach over Respect to Mike Slam. So I don't want anything to do with slam. So walking into that type of atmosphere, Southern Fried was the best, because that was one of the best ones I've been to since I've been gone. And bro,
I agree. And I mean, it's good. It's good to have that be your first slam experience versus like nationals or something, because a lot of the stuff that turn people off to it in their first experience, like a lot of those things really aren't prevalent in Southern Fried in terms of the culture, because it's such a tight knit community. So like if your first joint is going to be Southern Fried, then that's probably for the best. Like definitely.
Yeah, because I've been to Nats. I was like, nah, I'm out.
Yeah. My first Southern Fried was in 2012, and like it just like changed my whole perspective on like what a national slam could be like, because it was like I was like, this is like Raven Voices for grown-ups. And it's like, because it's like everybody here is like bonded and stuff. It doesn't feel like everybody is just like so overly competitive that like it doesn't feel like it's a good energy. Like Southern Fried always feels like family reunion for real.
Yeah.
Like poetry just happens to be happening.
I like the Southern Fried energy is just always something. Now my brother, with his first, because he didn't want to slam the first year, but the second year when we went to Louisville, which we're supposed to be. I'm hoping we're going back this year. I hope so.
Yeah,
I
do
think we're still
Louisville.
gonna be, yeah, I think we're still gonna have to wear masks, but hopefully it'll be a little better than what it is now. But it's gonna be rough. It's gonna be rough. But his first year was Louisville, and then I got sick. I don't know. Everybody didn't really see me because I had a cold, so I would only come in the bouts and stuff like that. But they didn't have a good go in Louisville. They didn't have a good. They didn't have the. He was like, "Bro, this is what you talking about?" I was like, "What?" He's like, I just didn't like it, and it just was a different vibe. You know what I'm saying? And then, but after that, he was okay. After that, he was okay. I've learned a lot from Southern Fried. I hope we get this year because I don't want to go 2 years with a blank check. Ain't quite gonna cut it. Ain't quite gonna cut it.
It would be great. Like, I mean, even if it like had to get moved like later in the summer or something, like I definitely hope that Southern Fried can happen.
Yeah, I think it'll end up. They might have to move it for the sake of the summer just jumping in, and I think it'll scale back when it in hot times. I think it'll scale back, but I mean, we'll see. We'll see. Let me ask you because I know this has got to be. I can't wait to ask most of my guests this, but I really can't wait. I've been dying to ask you this question. Who are your top 5 most inspirational people ever, dead or alive? Top 5. I know this is going to be crazy. I can't wait for this list.
Like ever, like
Ever,
anything. Oh man.
ever, ever.
I've thought about this before, and I think I kind of answered it in the form of like, who are the 5 people you invite to like dinner party, like anybody that's good. And I know, so for me, it's like Harriet Tubman, like the goat of human beings, and shit, as far as
Yes.
I'm concerned. Um, Rakim, um, I would say, um, I want to invite um, Hermeticus Tetragrammus um, from ancient Egypt. So it's rumored he wrote the Emerald Tablets. He's also known as Thoth, and then many believe he was also Methuselah, and that
Mhm.
over his long lifespan he had these different um, identities he was known of in different parts of the known world at that time,
Wow.
and he was known as like this incredible like wise alchemist and all that, and the Emerald Tablets is what became the Kabbalion, which is like breaks down all the universal laws and principles, um, and then that was also remixed. A lot of the stuff in there, really the full foundation of it was turned into what the book known as The Secret.
Hmm.
And so I would love to have that guy there.
Wow.
I would say, um, wow, I actually really thought about this. Who else that I had that didn't? Um, Also, um, Dr. John Henry Clark. I definitely want to have him there. And I guess fifth person, oh man, it's hard to narrow it down. I guess I'm gonna say Joseph Benoit, aka uh, the historical Jesus, um, or depending on which translation from that part of the world at the time, is other versions of the name that could be quote unquote historical. But yeah, the black dude who has a depiction of him in the Ethiopian Bible, where he's clearly a black dude, had
Hmm.
black Jesus, actual Jesus, he slide through. And then I don't know, maybe the bonus for the sixth man might be Michael Jackson, um, who, depending on what part of the world you pull up the picture, might pull up a rendition of Black Jesus and a rendition of white Michael Jackson. Depending on which one, where you are, one is more recognizable than the other. um, yeah, I feel like that's different than the ones I came up with before, but slightly different, but those, there's like 55 that could go in that 5.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Bro, I was turned on to Dr. Henry Clark with A Great and Mighty Walk.
yep,
That's how I
yep.
was introduced to him. And when I
Yeah, yeah.
read, when
Which
I
was
when I
like
saw that,
produced by Wesley Snipes.
Wesley Snipes. Bro, when I saw that, I watched that shit. I almost got fired from my job. I couldn't turn it off. I kept rewinding it. So I grew up in the Nation of Islam. So a lot of stuff that were taught young, he kind of brought back to the forefront. Like, hey, wait a
Right,
minute.
right.
You thought about this
So
shit, right?
right, so then the Yakub story, then you probably familiar with that.
In the whole Yakub story, which a lot of people, I tell people like this, I love to come on here and talk to people. I want y'all to go research this shit and come back and talk. Don't let me give you my perspective of it. Go and research it. Research who Yakub is, what they said he did, who he was with his big ass head. Go research that shit, right? And then come back to me and tell me. But Dr. Hendrik Clark, A Great and Mighty Walk, I've told people time and time to go look at that. It totally, it kind of makes you, it makes me remember when I went to school and I studied world religion. And I noticed how you could be a Hindu and be Muslim, Christian, Jew, all of these things in one. And it kind of gave me that concept that we just been practicing this shit wrong for a long time. You know what I'm saying? I always tell people, I don't think we were taught who or what God was properly. Because if we were, we should have been able to make this one prayer and the shit change overnight. He would hear us. So I think I always tell people, like, we're talking to him in the wrong tone. It's the wrong vibration. And Dr. Hendrik Clark's Great and Mighty Walk kind of brings you back to, listen, it started here. Now, how you got it, I don't know. But when you go back here, you can kind of trickle your way through and find out where this shit is ending up how it is now. So that's what I kind of got from him. Yeah, yeah. I know you do a lot of reading, bro. What kind of books you like to read? I know you do a lot of reading. That's not even a question.
Yeah, I mean, I felt my reading process and my writing process has a similar reflection in that I'm either reading a whole lot, I'm either writing a whole lot at different times, or like I'm completely not. Um, Stuff that I read currently, a lot of science fiction and a lot of poetry books too. Um, but yeah, I mean, my favorite science fiction author is Octavia Butler. Favorite Octavia Butler book is Wild Seed. That book is wow, like that book is wow. Um, Other favorites, The Alchemist. That's kind of like cliche favorite, but that book. Um, yeah, I really, I'm a huge, um, I'm a huge science fiction nerd, and specifically, Nerd Slam champion 3 times in a row in Southern Pride, and I'm a huge Trekkie. Like, that's my nerd drug of choice at a very young age. So, definitely Star Trek novels. You know what I mean? Yeah, and then in terms of just like reading like really quote unquote heavy stuff, um, recently I haven't really dug too much into like that kind of text. But there was a time when like I was deep into a lot of them things, like Ivan Van Sertima. His work definitely, definitely one of the ones at the top of the list. Dr. Clark, um, historical texts, or really repositioning of historical texts, to tell the true history. A lot of that, was like the backbone of like building my mental weapons to colonize, things that were taught, growing up in school. And yeah, um, those were some of
Talk to me. Let's talk about the Nerd Slam, right? I had no idea what I was walking into with the Nerd Slam when I was a Southern Fry. I had no freaking idea. And then I'm saying, wait a minute. I watched that cartoon. I didn't know that shit was saying all of that shit. Like,
the Man, especially the way LJ does the Nerd Slam, like it takes it to a whole nother dimension.
What do you love about that Nerd Slam? Because the Nerd Slam is full of just people who don't see fucking. They see shit that's we just regular people don't see. We regular people, we don't
Man,
see.
well, poetry slams are already, and poets coming together in general is like a gathering of the weirdos. Nerd Slam is like a gathering of the weirdest of the weirdos, like the Super Saiyan level weirdos, who's like we wear that badge so heavy as like nerds that it's like, listen, you, this is my thing right here that I go to the deepest depths of, and I love how like it can be anything. Like it doesn't necessarily have to be the stereotypical things that are associated with nerd culture. You could be a nerd about like plumbing tools. You know what I mean, you could be a nerd about sneakers. You could be a sneakerhead nerd. Like it's the thing that you are the most so passionate about that you know so much about it that you feel like you know just as much about it as anybody or more than anybody that you know. And so it's kind of just like that gathering of like the super weirdos, and it's always such a celebration of just the things that we love and are passionate about across the board.
I've had no idea that Star Trek and forget about when he was talking about was it the Pokemon or some shit? One of them damn cartoons that I don't watch, and I was like, what? Like, can I just go back to Tom and Jerry? Just the cat and mouse and the dog. Just go back to Roadrunner because this other shit is just too super fly for me. I can't handle that shit, man. Oh man. So you have books, right? Let's talk about those. What do you tell the people what books you have? I know one of your books is like fucking this big. Or was that just a book you was reading? I don't know. I don't remember. But what do you have?
So the book that came out in 2017 is in a lot of ways it's like a textbook that's biblical because it's a combination of multiple books turned into one. So that's the big joint, the Language Arts and Real Glimpses. So yeah, that's kind of like multiple different volumes combined into one book. It's kind of I describe it as behold the pale horse if the whole thing rhymed.
Wow. Fucking wow. Like who the fuck even thinks of that? That's just crazy. Wow.
Technically my other personality.
Where is that book available?
On my IG, there's a link in my bio to where you can get it. I'll write off of Amazon.
Got you. Is that the only book you have?
There's another book called Righteous Alchemy that myself and a brother by the name of Devlin Waldell, who's a creative nonfiction writer, and we were teaching together in Dumore in the early days, and then we realized we had a lot of things in common that were like opposite somehow. It was like we called it the stars versus pyramids, and so we wrote a book called Writer's Alchemy that is a collaborative book where you don't even know necessarily who's writing what at what point in the book, but as you start to read along, it kind of reveals itself. And so that one is also on there. And then there's a anthology that I was a part of called Poets America. Funny, this comes up right now, but we did it in 2012 during Obama's second inauguration, like based around the idea of inaugural poets. Like when you have a poet at a presidential inauguration, and so the premise of the anthology was if you were an inaugural poet for now, because there wasn't one at that time, what would you say? And so there's a lot of different poetry about social issues and politics, and like what would you say if you got the chance to be the inaugural poet? How would you approach that based off the poems people submitted? And then of course the whole world is talking about how amazing Amanda Gorman was just yesterday. So that collection is called Poets America, and that's also.
Let me ask you. There's so much in that. Let me ask you. Do you have children?
I have no biological children as of yet, but I have
Mm.
3 adopted children and then 2, I guess technically you could say, stepchildren, even though I'm not technically married to my partner, but um, that we function
Gotcha,
as
gotcha.
a weird ass family of cool, weird people, things. So biologically 0, technically
Right.
5. How
Well,
did that happen?
we'll just we'll drop that part of it. But any little girls in it? Any girls in that mix?
3 out of the 5. The 3 adopted are, and they all come out of poetry. They all come out of being a poetry mentor to them, and then it evolved into like, yo, I see that there's this aspect that is missing from your life in terms of a father, and for whatever reason, it just evolved into that. It's a really deep thing. Um, and they're all between 17 and 24.
Wow. So what does Kamala Harris, all the events that has circled around her up until now and then now, how does that affect your conversation with those young women?
I would say it really doesn't with any of them because they are all such staunch radical revolutionaries in their thought. And I want to say this, maybe that has something to do with me being their father, but they are their own person in that regard. Like have definitely informed it, but they are intellectually strong in such ways that what's happening in the mainstream, um, in terms of influence and politics and the zeitgeist that happens in front of your face, they always stop and question and examine and deconstruct that on such a level that something like that doesn't necessarily have the same immediate effect as it would most young people, most young women of
Yeah.
color. They more than I mean, I haven't even talked to any of them about it, but more than anything, it would be like, okay, I inherently see that as, a force that can be positive, but I
Mhm.
also know what's really going on behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Short
No,
answer to that. And I think it was very similar in 2008 with Obama, for me, in that it was like 5 seconds as primaries was heating up. I was like, could this be? And then I just researched just a couple things about the people behind him. It's like,
yeah, I think you faded out just a little bit. You said a couple of things behind the scenes and then you faded out.
and then it was like I could instantly see like, I see what's happening.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There are a lot of smoke screens in politics. We know that, but I do appreciate the fact that we have a baby that'll be here on the 29th is the due date. So I have another baby girl coming into the world now, and I do appreciate the fact that I will have more more things that are listen, baby girl, don't stop here. You know what I mean? That's the conversation that I can have
Right.
even if I don't want my daughter to go into politics, but just to say that, listen, there's a sky that they call a limit, but I want you to reach past that and just make that just a place that you can pass along the way, because I don't think sky's the limit. There's so much further you can go, but I think we give ourselves these ceilings unnecessarily. You know what I mean? If the sky's the limit, then your dreams really don't. Where do your prayers go? If they just
Right.
reach the sky, we kind of in trouble at that.
And I mean, it's like with the hammer. You know what I mean? It's the energy. Like things have the potential to energetically shift what you do one way or another. And if something that is presented, even if it has um, even if it has malicious agendas behind it, but it's that energy you can use and you can transmute that energy with how you approach life and your own actions. And what I mean, if there are little black girls who see that and it's like, you know what, I want to do something great,
Yeah.
then whatever that catalyst is, it can be used as a positive impact.
Absolutely. I have my 19-year-old should be 20 on Valentine's Day, and there's a conversation that we're going to share that we hadn't shared yet, but I'm sure we're going to share. She's self-quarantining right now, so when the baby comes, she could just be here, which is great for me because I'm happy that she doesn't. I'm happy she's not upset about not being the only baby girl now, but because that was a whole new thing.
Right.
But
you don't seem old enough to have a 19-year-old.
Bro, my oldest son was born in 1990. My other son was born in 92. And
I
so,
was
yeah.
like 7 or 8 years old then.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll be half a man in 2 years. Well, less than 2 years now because I'll be 49 this year. So I'm very, very, very gracious. I'm grateful for that. One of our folks that are regular here, Brother Mike, he asks, "Who is your favorite musicians?" I know that's very interesting right there.
So there's a whole other version of me who is a staunch and astute jazz super enthusiast. And so the answer to that question is undoubtedly John Coltrane.
I
Like
know I loved you, bro.
like John Coltrane is like the musician Rakim for me. He
Yeah.
stands alone. And so yeah, that's number one for sure. And then there's a bevy of others that I absolutely adore. John Coltrane is without a doubt, number one.
I knew that one. I kind of felt that one already. Oh, did you freeze up on me? Hold on, I think you frozen. Okay, I think you're back now.
A little bit of buffer.
Yeah. John Coltrane is one of my favorites. I wrote so I wrote the but go ahead. No, it's not about me. I'll talk about that later. Go ahead and give me your 5. I'll give me your top 5 because I'll go
I
on a
would say
rant.
if Thelonious Monk is like right there too. Like Monkey Train, like one of my one of my other artistic personalities is Thelonious Coltrane. Because those are my two favorite musicians. And Thelonious Coltrane is like a hip hop jazz fusion artist who's weird inside of all of my incarnations and used to go on stage with spray painted light bulbs around his neck, all kinds of weird things. Sun Ra, definitely what he brought to the game of jazz and just like taking it to another level metaphysically and spiritually. Sun Ra. Ornette Coleman, I love because Ornette Coleman, known as like the father of free jazz. Like he literally freed jazz, like taking it outside the confines of like, all right, this is standard and this is that. You can't go off scale here. Like he was like, nah, you can. Once you know the fundamentals, you can break all the rules. So and then I would say fifth. It's interesting. These are all jazz musicians, but like when I think about like my favorite, these just happen to be them. And I would say Alice Coltrane. Like John Coltrane's wife, like she took a lot of the ideological musical theologies that Train established, especially in his later work, and she literally took it to another galaxy. Like oh my god, like her albums are just this is album she has with Carlos Santana that is like literally like church called like forget what it's called, but it's crazy. And I got to put Pharoah Sanders in there. Same thing. Like it took like that same school of thought that came from Train and like and collaborating and the collaborations that he has with Alice Coltrane's like Pharoah Sanders. I've seen Pharoah Sanders live.
Wow.
And like wow, it's like wait, it didn't seem like he had aged at all. Like and he was like a shaman with a saxophone. It was just yeah, like I think the music that kind of transcends the barrier between what we know and what we don't know. And it explains the things we don't know and can't say with words. It does it like sonically with vibration in a way that it seems impossible to try to put words to. And in my Thelonious Coltrane form, I attempt to do that, but it's a never ending journey to try to actually do, because it's crazy.
I listened to. I'm gonna tell you what really took me to listening to jazz. I started DJing at a young age. The Drummer's Beat was a song, a break beat that I started learning to DJ on. So I'll tell you how far back
Yeah,
that was.
yeah,
I
yeah.
was like six, between 6 and 8. And I got into doing music production when I was working on my own album. Everybody, a lot of poets start off as rappers, right? And I started doing music production, and I learned how to take a song apart and listen to stuff that people don't hear, and how something to play in the left speaker that won't play in the right speaker be something different, and how it hits the body. And so I went into a studio session, and one of my buddies was listening to a track, and I was like, who is playing that bass line? And it was Shirley Pepsi Riley's husband playing bass. Bro, I was like, holy shit. First of all, I didn't even know Shirley Pepsi Riley had a husband. I just know Shirley Pepsi Riley was bass. Her husband plays bass, and when I tell you, he was killing it. And so it took me to, everybody heard Miles, right? Somebody heard something about Coltrane at some point. But for whatever reason, it was a magnet pulling me to Coltrane. It was a magnet pulling me to Coltrane. And I think I heard Love Supreme, and I lost my fucking mind. And then when I heard the song he did, Alabama, and then I forgot the other one, Naima, I think it was. And I probably wrote 17 poems to Naima. I could
See,
not
I
stop.
always wanted to write a poem to Naima about someone named Naima, and it was I never could get to. I never could bring myself to do it.
It doesn't, none of those poems have anything to do with a woman named Naima. But
That's
it's like,
funny. That's
it
funny.
kind of forces you. When I
Yeah,
hear
yeah.
you go into a trance, you're like, if you don't
Right.
close your eyes at some point, you're not fucking listening. You know what I mean? It kind of makes your whole body say, yo, nothing else. It's like the Phoenix and the X-Men. And all the shit just break into particles and start moving slow. It does that. And I'm like, holy shit. Man, I don't know what kind of, Mike was asking me what kind of bass. I don't know what kind of bass he plays. I don't remember, but I know that he played bass, and he was playing that fucking bass, bro. And this was 20 something years ago. This is 20 something years ago, because I was in my early 20s at this time. Unreal. I had something else to ask you, but I kind of lost it with the whole Coltrane. Did you see the documentary on Netflix?
The one like maybe like 10 or so years back or something more recent.
Chasing Train
Yeah, yeah,
with
yeah, yeah.
Denzel? Yeah. What'd you think about it?
I just thought pretty dope.
Yeah. I
And it was
actually,
interesting, it's weird too to have, because I mean Mo Better Blues was kind of a gateway into like exploring more deeper into the jazz annals for me as well. So it made sense to have him involved for sure.
another movie I fell in love with. I fell in love with that. And then when she sang Harlem Blues, you almost want to cry. You know what I mean? And your heart just like,
Yeah.
okay, is it safe? Can I come out?
Yeah, it often comes up in conversation about what is Spike's best joint. A lot of people say Mo Better Blues. Um, Definitely gotta be top three. Spike Lee
Absolutely.
movies.
And then Malcolm X comes up. And the reason I don't put Malcolm X in the top, as far as a movie, awesome movie. As far as facts, I hated it. And
I
then I
mean, it
hate
was
the fact
based
that
off
they
of
put,
the Alex Haley, autobiography, the Alex Haley book, the biography. But the autobiography, if you know, is not factual either. It's not directly on point from the source. Like it was a work of, um, really in a lot of ways, a work of a ghostwriter with Alex Haley's name on the book. Um, and so the movie's based off of that. So if facsimile is based off of facsimile, you're not going to get the facts that are
Exactly.
similes.
I
You want to
think
get instead of the facts, you get the similes.
get the similes. I think what one of the things that really bothered me is you would show Malcolm X with his head in a fucking toilet, but wouldn't show some real shit that he actually, you know what I mean? Like, come on, take some of that shit
We
out.
know
We
what that's all about.
Yeah, man, I was like, so my mom and my uncle were in that movie, and then one of those scenes that they were in were cut out. It got cut funding. But, yeah, I think everybody was waiting for that movie. I remember going to see it. Everybody was waiting for that movie. So as far as a movie, it's a great movie. It was a really good movie, but because of knowing the facts that I know and the stuff that I would have liked to have seen in it, I was like, nah, I'm not giving it my top movie. I'm not.
And I mean,
really
again, it's the Hammer theory again with the energies, because it's like the autobiography of Malcolm X was so many people's catalyst for like not just learning more about him, but just their own personal enlightenment journey to begin in general, where they was just like, you know what, maybe there's more to this black thing than what white Americans taught me, and that was the start of their journey, was picking up that autobiography of Malcolm X, and which is a wonderful thing. And then for a whole other generation, the movie was that. So again, it's like take the hammer and you build or you destroy. And so if the catalyst can lead to something positive for people growth as a human being, let alone a black human being, then that starting point, regardless of what the intention of the person who pulled the hammer out of the box is it can always be positive energy process of personal transformation of what inspires you to be you and why. So it falls under that same category, but you know that it's not a documentary in any stretch.
Right. But I still watch it up to the point that they shoot him. I hate that part. It's just
and then
like,
again, talking about how great of a movie, how cinematically brilliant was that last act done though, like with the classic spike shot of the still moving forward shot and the man, even the Autobahn ballroom and everything, like it was cinematically, it's like you said, as a movie, was very well executed. For lack of a better term.
Yeah. So last question for me. Top 5 movies. I know this is going to be, I know that's probably going to be fucking ridiculously. Like, how do you get your top 5? But off the top of your brain, top 5, that's like, I can watch that at any given time. I already know it's going to be some Star Trek shit in there. I already know that.
So,
some sci-fi shit.
I can't even include, it's not even fair, because all 13 Star Trek movies, even the bad ones, for me, could be considered. So Star Trek is its own category. I can't even include Star Trek.
Gotcha.
Wow, top 5 is, how can there only be 5? That's hard to say. That's like the top 5 albums.
It's either that or top 5 MCs of all time. Either one of those two.
That's even more difficult. It's weird because I'm going to be doing a hip hop podcast. My brother Kareem Ali just started recording them, and one of the episodes we're going to do is centered around what I call the realm of 13 microphone gods. Like, who do you include in that? So that no way I can say 5.
Wait. No. You have to shoot me that information, bro.
I can't reveal a list until the episode drops later, but for sure.
So
when they start dropping, I'll definitely send you the links.
Bro, my heart is like this right now. Like, what the fuck is
the podcast is gonna be called Are You Serious? It's kind of like a hip hop version of First Take, where like we debate and we match up different things. Like one, I can't reveal too much. Just keep an eye out for Are You Serious coming out. But I'm gonna try to answer the movies. Okay. These are
No
movies.
specific order. Just any. Don't have to be in order.
Right. No specific order. These are movies that um I could not figure out what was going to happen until it happened.
Ooh.
So I would say Blade Runner 2049. I think it was 2049. The second Blade Runner that came out a few years ago. Melted my brain. There's a recent movie on Netflix called The Midnight Sky, science fiction sci-fi movie based off a novel called Good Morning Midnight. Melted my brain. Um, um, movie from back in the day, Memento. The murder mystery.
Okay.
Totally melted my brain. It was one of the first movies that employed the technique of telling the story back. Kind of broke the mold for that format. Say,
Oh, you got a blank again. I
okay,
can't hear you. Say again.
1 2 1 2.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Here's one I'm gonna throw in here. This is kind of like a wild card, but one we watched it at Southern Fried in Louisville, and it was like we watched it as a team, and I was like, you know what, this really is incredible, and it kind of speaks to like the competitive psychology of chasing greatness. And a movie called Whiplash.
Whiplash.
That one, brain melter, in how it approached the subject matter of like mentorship, pushing someone to be their greatest self. And I'm a throw like any of these five could be replaced by any number of 55, but I'm gonna put in there. Okay, so if I include Star Trek, I'm gonna put The Wrath of Khan because that's the best Star Trek movie ever made. One of the best movies ever made. One of the best science fiction movies ever made. I'm gonna say, but if I don't include a Star Trek movie and just keep that separate, I would say Coming to America, all-time classic. I may have watched Coming to America more times than any other movie that's not a Star Trek.
Wow. Are you looking forward to the next one?
Oh, we're gonna have like a whole family watch party.
Wow. I love it.
Yeah. Like that's like one of the like. There's certain movies, certain things that are like staples among your family that like everyone knows the words to and stuff. Like my cousins have acted out the bathroom scene in real life with people where they run up and be like, "I can't believe it! It is the Prince of the Moon." To like do the whole scene, all the blocking, putting down the drinks, and taking the picture, like everything, like the whole thing, just to throw people off. Like
I love it.
Strangers to people we know. Oh, don't let us be like picking somebody up from the airport or something. They're gonna do the whole Prince of the Moon to scene, the whole thing. I could not believe it. So yeah, that one definitely is staple.
Wow.
But there's so many. I could go on and on.
We got about 40 seconds left, man. Slangston, bro, thank you so much for coming, man. I appreciate you. I'm definitely gonna have you back on. After, please make sure you send me when that's podcast come, and after that, back on here again so we can talk about that whole shit because I know that's gonna be crazy.
For sure.
So everybody that's watching, thank y'all for tuning in, man. I appreciate y'all so much. You know, I always tell you, you have everything you need to be amazing and fantastic today. Start with looking in the mirror and telling that person in the mirror that you love that person. Fall in love with yourself every day. And I challenge you to be better today than you was yesterday. You have everything you need to do what you need to do to make it through this amazing day. So be beautiful, be amazing, and we'll see y'all next time. Thanks, and hold on a sec, bro.
I'm looking at the chat. I'm gonna answer this question about the movie Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. I never read the book that it's based off of, but that movie